until you make the unconscious conscious. It will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. You've been sold the idea that love is a safe harbor, that it's the cure for loneliness, a healing for the soul, an unconditional acceptance, that one day the right woman will appear and fill the void you've been running from your whole life. From childhood, from movies, from books, the same code was stitched into your subconscious. One day, someone will come and make you whole. And you believed it, not because you're foolish, not because you're naive, but because you were never given the tools to recognize this grand lie. What if this promise is just evolution's marketing ploy? What if the love you're so desperately searching for isn't salvation, but a program? And what if the philosopher often dismissed as a pessimist, Arthur Schopenhauer, decoded this program long before us? Schopenhauer didn't write romantic ballads. His philosophy is a solvent that burns away illusions, getting to the primary cause, to the blind and all-powerful will to live. And when he looked at love, at relationships, at how we interact, he didn't see poetry. He saw mechanics. He saw a biological imperative disguised as elevated feelings. And most of us, especially men, are still not ready to hear it. Because here's the truth. You don't love her. You love the feeling of relief she gives you. You love how her presence silences your inner noise, how her approval temporarily convinces you that you are okay. But relief is not love. And what you call love might just be a perfectly calibrated program that keeps you in emotional obedience. Women had to become masters of psychology in a world that denied them the right to direct action. They weren't given armies, so they learned to conquer the fortresses of human souls. They weren't given thrones, so they mastered the invisible architecture of influence, not because they are inherently cunning, but because they were forced to operate in the one realm where men were helpless, the world of emotions. And this is precisely where the modern man fails. You mistake her empathy for submission. You confuse her adaptability with simplicity. You think her tenderness is a weakness. You think her love is a gift. It's not a gift. It's a skill. Honed, tested, and applied with surgical precision. While you pour out your feelings, calling it being open, she is scanning your words for your needs. While you dream of soulmates, she is assessing your dependence on her opinion, weighing your need against her security, not out of malice, instinctively, because she learned long ago, the one who understands the hidden currents but doesn't speak of them controls the flow. And what about you? You were taught to worship, to place her on a pedestal so high that it's convenient for ignoring reality. You don't see the mechanics because you don't want to. You prefer the image, the muse, the savior, the keeper of the hearth. But what if these roles are just avatars? Avatars she has learned to choose because they grant her security and influence. Schopenhauer exposed this deception not to humiliate women, but to destroy the fairy tales men tell themselves about them. Because as long as you believe in her innate moral purity, as long as you believe her affection is selfless, you will willingly surrender your sovereignty in exchange for emotional comfort, and she will accept this power, not because she despises you, but because the entire system has taught her to. You are not being loved. You are being managed. And the most terrifying part is you like it. You like the illusion of care. You like the worship. You like the emotional anesthetic that allows you to avoid meeting your true self. Because the moment you stop needing her as your redemption, you will have to face what creates that need. And that, not heartbreak, is what truly horrifies you. But fear is a master of disguise, and one of its favorite masks is romantic devotion. You think your love is pure. You think you're giving yourself completely. But look deeper. What you're offering is not love. It's a transaction. You're saying, I will give you all of myself if you relieve me of the need to deal with myself. You're not looking for a partner. You're looking for a painkiller. And while you offer your soul in exchange for peace, she is listening. Not to your words, but to your fears. Not because she is cruel, but because every vulnerability you reveal becomes a blueprint of your psyche, a map of your pressure points. And she studies this map, not to hurt you, but to occupy a place in your soul from which she cannot be removed. Schopenhauer saw this. He saw that what we call love is often a silent struggle for territory in another's soul. Who defines the distance? Who shows coldness first? Who is the last to concede? These are not questions of affection. They are questions of control. And here is the uncomfortable axiom. The one who is less attached controls more. You give her everything. Your time, your attention, your identity. You call this total devotion. She gives you what you crave, in just the right dose to keep you chasing. She calls this a deep connection, but it's not a connection. It's a calibration. We've created a culture where women are taught to influence without showing power, and men are taught to submit while thinking they are leading. It's not her fault, and it's not yours. It's the result of millennia of evolution, where men mastered the outer world and women mastered the inner one. And today, in modern relationships, you walk smiling into this masterfully built labyrinth. She doesn't need to command. She needs to hint. She doesn't need to demand. She needs to desire. And in doing so, she shapes you, your goals, your identity, without ever raising her voice. That's not manipulation. It's virtuosity. You call her mysterious because you can't figure her out. And you can't figure her out because you've never questioned your own myths. You still think love is about merging. She knows love is about a balance of power. And when she pulls away, it haunts you. Not because she is gone, but because your pleasing reflection left with her. Schopenhauer would have said, you never loved her. You loved the sense of your own worth that she gave you. She was the canvas on which you painted your ideal self-portrait. Now the canvas has been taken away, and you're left alone with silence and the truth. And here it is. She didn't deceive you. She simply stopped conforming to the image you projected onto her. You didn't see her. You saw your idea of her. And when she stopped playing that role, you called her cold, cruel. But maybe the real betrayal was yours, for loving a fantasy and demanding a living person be its prisoner. Realist philosophers didn't condemn women. They condemned men who refused to grow up, those who sought a muse instead of a mirror, those who prayed for angels instead of daring to face a human being in all their terrifying and magnificent complexity. If you're ready to stop blaming her, then you're ready to look at yourself, not with guilt, not with shame, but with clarity. And from this clarity, something radical can be born. Not the end of love, but its transformation. You were taught that love is sacrifice, that giving of yourself is the mark of a good man. But what if this selflessness is just another mask for your emotional dependency? What if, behind the grand gestures and poetic declarations, lies a quiet, animal fear? If I don't give everything, she will leave. And so, you compromise. You erase boundaries. You give up parts of yourself to become who you think she wants you to be. Not because you love her, but because you are afraid of being without her. This isn't nobility. It's capitulation disguised as romance. And while you think you're being brave, she feels something else entirely. Power, not through force, but through your willingness to orbit her approval. Because here is the truth that great minds hinted at, but few are willing to accept. Love born from need is never equal. She may not ask you to change, but you change. She may not demand your obedience, but you offer it. Why? Because you've convinced yourself that her acceptance is your salvation. But she didn't ask to be your savior. She was just being herself, and you turned her into the measure of your own worth. And when that mirror cracks, you don't just feel loss, you feel collapse, because you weren't protecting love. You were protecting your story. The story that says, if she loves me, I am worthy. But stories are not reality. And when reality intrudes, you call it betrayal. A thinker would call it an awakening. The lie is not that she has power. The lie is that you didn't notice it. You called her caring, but she was observant. You called her sensitive, but she was an analyst. You thought she surrendered, but she was choosing, always choosing, because she understood something you never did. The keys to the game belong to the one who sees its rules clearly. And now, finally, the veil begins to lift. You remember moments when her smile was warm, but the look behind it was assessing. You remember how the slightest shifts in your mood were met with an immediate reaction before you even said a word. You thought she was intuitive, and she is. But for her, intuition is a tool for survival. It's her way of staying one step ahead in a world that never gave her the right to direct confrontation, only the power to shape the reality around her. This isn't about blame. This is about reality. You live in a world where love is sold as mutual surrender, but practiced as mutual leverage. Where vulnerability is branded as a virtue, but used as currency. And the moment you realize this, you have two paths: grow up or break down. Most choose to break down. They go back to the myth. They look for a new muse, a new partner for their emotional performance. They say, this time will be different, but it won't. Because the script hasn't changed. Only the actors have. And until you stop needing her to play a part, you will never meet the person behind the mask. But what happens when the mask is gone? When you stop seeking roles and start seeing reality, you begin to notice what was always there. Not cunning, not malice, but instinct. A woman, aware of her deficit of institutional power, who has perfected relational power. Not because she wants to control you, but because this is the only power she's been allowed to have. So ask yourself, not, is she ready to love me? Ask, am I ready to see her without the myths? Because only then can you see yourself. And only then does love stop being a story and become a reality. If this opened your eyes, if it made you uncomfortable in a way that felt true, share this video. Like it and subscribe. Not for entertainment, but because you're done with illusions and ready to see things as they are. If this transformed your view even a little, help this video reach someone else who is also looking for a way out of the labyrinth.